Hi, everybody. I'm John Stinson, the chair of the Easton Board of Education.
And I'm Chris Parkin, the chair of the Reading Board of Education.
I'm Todd Johnston, the chair of Region 9.
And I'm Radell Harrison, superintendent for ER9. And today we're here with Between Three Chairs, and today's topic is really looking at and digging into the ABCs of our district, the enduring goals and aspirations. They are A, academic excellence, B, building a caring community, and C, cultivating future-ready learners.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit more? What does academic excellence mean?
So when we think about academic excellence, obviously we as a district have a great reputation as far as our student outcomes on assessment measures. But really academic excellence is more than that. It's really about engaging our students to become active learners and thinkers, to be able to ask deep questions, collaborate, problem solve, innovate, and most importantly, to really cultivate within that sense of wonder that would make them curious about the world and want to continue their learning on a daily basis outside of the school building. And so really that academic excellence is kind of the totality of becoming a strong learner, both in the classroom and in the community.
And can you give us an example? Sorry, can you give us an example of how you would think about doing that here in ER9?
Sure. And so I know that we do this at the high school, and I know we also do this some with our middle school students, but really academic excellence are those opportunities where students are working on larger projects, where they're having to use skills and ideas and lessons from multiple classrooms, that they're pulling that information together in a big, larger project. We like to refer to those as authentic learning experiences. And thinking about problem solving. So one of the things that I have thought about, particularly in this time of COVID, is that the person who is working on, or the people who are working on vaccines right now, are people who were once K through 12 students, right? And so in what ways are we preparing our students to engage in thinking and problem solving that will solve problems for us in the future? And to do that, it really is about this interdisciplinary approach to learning and thinking.
Great, thank you. Chris?
So what does building a caring community look like in that context of academic excellence?
Yeah, so, I think that, again, when we're thinking about students working on larger projects, is always within the potential impact in the community. I think that we're living in a different kind of world right now with COVID, because some of the ways that we are used to engaging as a community is by bringing people together. And so our teachers, in their daily work with students, they're continuing to focus on social emotional learning, building skills like empathy, and helping students to build the social skills that they need to make connections with each other. So that's really about building that caring community. That's one layer of that work. And then also, as we're engaging students and building those skills, we're always looking back to the CASEL standards around social and emotional learning to see how our students are progressing with their social and emotional learning capacity, and then in what ways can we support them in that work in the classroom, or even through with some of our support staff as well.
You said CASEL standards. What's that? Talk more about that.
Yes, so the CASEL standards, and I would tell you exactly what the acronym was if you didn't ask me to say it off the top of my head right now. But the CASEL standards are standards that are about sort of where students should be developmentally at every grade level, based on their sort of coping skills, their ability to build social connections, their level of resilience. There are some really simple tools out there to assess where students are, but K through 12, we already have programs in place where we're building those skills. At the elementary and middle school, we're looking at second step as ways to do that. the high school, they're using the ruler program from Yale University to build what we used to think of as soft skills that are now really essential skills for our students to be successful in the future.
Speaking of the future, so the C of our ABCs, these core principles that we're focused on, is about cultivating future-ready learners. I imagine a lot of people say, okay, so everybody's building a robot tomorrow, right? Like that's how we can, like, I think it's probably a bit more complex, right? Like what does that look like in our schools today? And like, where are we going in the future to try to live up to that principle?
Sure. So, when we think about cultivating future-ready learners, I think that the easiest place that people jump to is thinking about technology, which is true. I mean, I think that as we're thinking about preparing our students for the future, it is so important for them to have a real good sense of digital citizenship and technology capacity, and being able to use that technology as a part of their learning by integrating technology into the classroom on a regular basis. I was talking with some colleagues last week, and we said, what would have happened if this pandemic hit us 10 years ago? We didn't have the technology capacity to really be able to continue to move learning forward. So there's that piece of it around technology. But then there's also the instilling in our students a desire for continued lifelong learning, right? And so we are now preparing students for career paths that don't already exist. And in order to be future ready, it's not just about having a set of skills, but it's really about, again, developing those problem solving capacities and thinking about how to work collaboratively with others to engage in careers that will solve issues for us as a society in the future. Lifelong learning, right? So, all of us in this video, we have graduated from high school at least a few years ago, but the learning has not stopped. And so we know that even in our own professions, there have been things that we are continuing to learn now in order to do our work well. And so I think that those are things that we want to be really intentional about in focusing with our students. And then with that, thinking about ways to creatively leverage technology and digital learning in a way to do that really well.
So when we talk about these three principles, right? Academic excellence, building a caring community, cultivating future ready learners, so ABC, like we're already doing a ton sort of that helps us live up to these principles, but it seems like we still have a lot of work to do to sort of continue to live up to these principles and sort of move to sort of where we need to be. How do you see that as a sort of challenge and as a part of our strategic direction that we need to go as a set of three boards of education?
Yeah, and so for me, I always think about strategic planning as a way to focus and direct so many of the great things that are already happening in the same direction strategically, and then assessing where we are and thinking about what do those next steps look like. And so, I always come into a new position, and this is my thinking coming here, that there are so many great things happening. And every time I go and visit a school, I see an example of one of these ABCs, and even when I'm talking to students and parents. And so I want to leverage all of the great things that are happening, and then working with our community to co-create a vision for what that looks like for us going forward. So when we think about a student kind of transitioning all the way from pre-K through high school across our three districts, what is it that we want them to know and be able to do by the time that they leave? And so I think that that's something that we revisit on a regular basis, and now is a really good time to do that. And so that's been part of the questions and feedback that I'm getting from our families, in talking with teachers, and talking with administrators, community members. And it's always interesting, even when and I usually don't mention these ABCs, but I could tie the thinking always back to these principles, which really indicate that these are key components of who we are and who we want to be as a community, as a tri-district, and then thinking strategically about what are those next steps and what do we need to have in place for our staff and students to be able to grow to that next level. And as a superintendent, for me, the fun of all of this is that I get to do this work without having to start from scratch, right? There's so many great things happening. And so I'm excited to know that I could pull on the innovation, the resources, the experiences of not only our students and staff, but also our community members to think about what that vision looks like for us long term.
I think this is the exciting work that motivates all 4 of us and all 21 board members. So I think we're all pretty excited to dig in and partner with you on this work.
Great, and I look forward to continuing out in the community. I shared before that I'm going to create some virtual forums for our families to be able to share ideas around these things. And even already, so many folks have been giving some great ideas about technology integration, about coding, about all these things. And I think that, you know, even as we're thinking about being a caring community, this is where the diversity, equity, and inclusion work really fits nicely with the direction that we're going in. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And we look forward to sharing more information with you next time.